Impactful moment between Carlos Alcaraz and Ferrero during his match against Norrie. During his debut at the new Paris Masters, Carlos Alcaraz experienced a moment of tension with his coach, Juan Carlos Ferrero. After losing the second set against Cameron Norrie, the Spanish player couldn't contain his frustration. The scene caught everyone's attention. Alcaraz complained about the court conditions and showed an unusual discomfort. That's how one of the most talked about episodes of the tournament began. The new Paris Masters left behind the iconic Bercy neighborhood to move to La Défense Arena, a modern venue with a capacity for more than 23,000 fans. However, the change didn't please Carlos Alcaraz. From the first exchanges, the Spaniard noticed something different about the surface. The court was much slower than usual, affecting his rhythm and shot precision. His discomfort grew with every point played. When the second set slipped away from him against Cameron Norrie, his frustration exploded. Alcaraz walked toward his bench and began expressing his anger directly to Ferrero. Cameras captured his words, which quickly went viral. "This is slower than Monte Carlo. It's slower than clay," he said angrily. It wasn't just a complaint, it was the confession of a player who couldn't adapt to a surface that seemed to hold him back in every sense. Ferrero, for his part, remained calm. As a coach and former player, he understood that frustration is part of the sport. His reaction was to listen carefully without responding harshly, knowing that in those moments, what his pupil needed most was to vent. But the tension was palpable, and the crowd could feel it. Alcaraz, visibly upset, repeated that he couldn't feel the ball, that he couldn't control his shots. His mind was trapped in a loop of despair. The world number one seemed disconnected from his best tennis. The court, the new environment, the pressure of his debut, all combined to create an adverse scenario. "I don't feel the ball at all, zero. I can't play here, impossible," he insisted. That phrase summed up his sense of helplessness. In a sport where precision is everything, losing the feel for the ball means losing the soul of the game. Ferrero's face showed understanding but also concern. Fans at La Défense Arena watched in astonishment. It wasn't common to see Carlos Alcaraz so upset. Normally, the Spaniard stands out for his positive energy and his ability to respond to adversity. But this time, something broke inside him. His body language showed irritation and hopelessness. The atmosphere in the stadium became tense, almost uncomfortable. Many wondered if he would be able to recover or if the match would completely slip away from him. However, despite the difficult moment, such situations reveal the humanity behind the champion. At just 21, Alcaraz faces immense pressure in every tournament. Being the world number one doesn't mean being invulnerable. This episode, more than a sign of weakness, was a display of the competitive fire that drives him. His standards are so high that he can't stand feeling disconnected from his game, and that's also part of the road to greatness. After that emotional outburst, Ferrero tried to redirect the situation from his seat. He didn't make harsh gestures or respond to the tension, he simply encouraged his pupil calmly and with few words. His experience had taught him that, in moments like these, the best thing is to let the storm pass. Alcaraz needed to release his frustration to regain focus. Gradually, his expression began to change, and it was clear that he was trying to regain mental control of the match. Tennis is as much a psychological sport as a physical one, and what happened at La Défense Arena was a clear example. The change of venue, the different acoustics, the ball bounce speed, everything altered the player's sensations. When an elite player says "I don't feel the ball," it's not trivial. It means they've lost the connection between their mind, their arm, and the impact of the shot. That disconnection is what drives any professional player crazy. As the match went on, Alcaraz started making small adjustments. He changed his returning position, hit with more patience, and sought longer rallies. Ferrero, from the bench, observed with the calmness of someone who's been there many times. Although the tension didn't disappear entirely, it turned into competitive energy. The young Spaniard began to fight for every point with more focus, trying to leave behind the frustration of the second set. The cameras kept capturing every gesture between player and coach. Their relationship, based on trust and respect, was evident. Ferrero didn't need to raise his voice to guide his pupil, looks and subtle gestures were enough. Alcaraz, realizing this, seemed to reconnect with his coach and with his own game. That emotional connection was key to his mental recovery during the rest of the match. The crowd, who had previously sensed tension, began to applaud every point the Spaniard won. His reaction and his fight inspired admiration. What began as a scene of frustration turned into a demonstration of character. Alcaraz, even in his toughest moments, showed why he's considered one of the most promising talents in world tennis. The ability to transform anger into determination is what separates the great champions from the rest. In the end, beyond the result, What remained was the lesson. In tennis, as in life, there are days when everything seems to go wrong. The key is not to give in to that feeling. Alcaraz and Ferrero, together, showed that even a moment of tension can become an opportunity to grow. The scene, widely discussed, reflects the intensity of the sport and the human bond behind every point, every look, and every word shared on court. The curse of Carlos Alcaraz in the Paris Masters 1000 continues. The Spaniard couldn't overcome Cameron Norrie in his debut and was eliminated in the first round of the French tournament after losing 6-4, 3-6, 4-6. The current world number one spoke to the media after the match and admitted that he froze up on court and will learn from this defeat. "I've trained here for many days. I've felt incredible these days, hitting the ball, moving on court, doing everything cleanly. But today I felt like I couldn't do more than I did. Credit to Cam, Norrie, of course, because he didn't let me feel comfortable and was able to turn the match around," said Carlitos. The Spanish player also admitted that he froze up on court and that this loss will help him learn. "I liked the feeling of the court in practice. Today I didn't feel as good, I froze up. Now we'll go home to prepare for the finals. I'm not going to rewatch this match, I'll forget it. There are matches to learn from, and from this one, I won't take much away." Finally, Ferrero's pupil made it clear that he came to this 2025 edition of the Paris Masters 1000 with confidence and with enough energy to aim for a good performance, but he doesn't really know what happened in his debut. "I came here with lots of energy and desire. I wanted to do well, I felt confident. In previous years, I arrived tired, but this time it was different. I skipped Shanghai and stayed home for many days. I have energy. I don't know what happened. This is a tournament where I struggle to play my best tennis, but I'll find a way to make it work." Carlos Alcaraz is in trouble. His loss in the Paris Masters 1000 is serious. It could lead to Jannik Sinner stealing the world number one ranking, and it could happen in just a week. If Jannik wins the title in Paris, at the new La Défense Arena, he would return to the top of the tennis world. By losing in the first round against Cameron Norrie, the Spaniard dropped 90 points, and they could prove costly. Carlos could lose the number one ranking before the final points awarding tournament of the season, the ATP Finals. Before that, he'll play in the Davis Cup, a competition from which Sinner will be absent. Sinner surrenders to Alcaraz. Number one is already impossible. The Italian, who debuts in Paris this Wednesday against Bergs, has given up on taking the ATP number one ranking from the Spaniard. "This year, it's no longer in my hands," he said. Italian player Jannik Sinner no longer expects to dethrone Carlos Alcaraz from the top of the ATP rankings this season, even though mathematically he still has a chance to do so during the Paris Masters 1000, the last tournament of the year. "Number one is already impossible. I'm not thinking about it right now, it will be a goal for next year. This year, it's no longer in my hands. Given the season I've had, with fantastic successes, I just want to finish the year in the best way possible. If I can achieve something big, great, if not, that's fine too," said the world number two in Paris, where he will debut this Wednesday against Belgian Zizou Bergs. Sinner said he is very satisfied with the season he's had and mentioned he's already looking forward to the next one, when he plans to make some adjustments to his game to adapt to different situations. The Italian confirmed that he won't participate in the Davis Cup, a decision he had already announced and does not intend to change. On the eve of his Paris debut, Sinner said that the Wimbledon final was the moment he's most proud of from this past season, calling it fantastic. "I've played many finals, I played very well at Roland Garros. But the season isn't over yet," said the Italian, who aims to win in Paris and defend his title at the ATP Finals in Turin, which gathers the year's top 8 players. Carlos Alcaraz faces his least favorable court. "There are others who are better than me." The world number one will debut against Cameron Norrie at the Paris Masters 1000, a tournament in which he has never gone past the quarterfinals. After withdrawing from the Shanghai Masters 1000 following his victory in Tokyo, Carlos Alcaraz arrives at the Paris Masters 1000 more rested than usual, the last tournament before the ATP Finals and the Davis Cup. In the French capital, where the Spaniard has twice touched glory at Roland Garros, he has also lived through his indoor nightmare. Carlitos has never gone beyond the quarterfinals at the Masters. In 2021 he reached the round of 16, in 2022 he achieved his best result, in 2023 he lost in his debut, and in 2024 he fell again in the round of 16. "I don't think I'm bad at playing indoors, it's just that there are others who are better than me. The Paris tournament hasn't gone well for me, but I'm getting more used to this surface," he said in a press conference. However, with this year's venue change and a much slower court, Alcaraz dreamed of reaching at least the semi-finals, which would secure his number one ranking. The court is totally different from last year, it's slower, and that will allow more tennis to be seen. It won't all depend on the serve, we'll be able to show our game, he explained. Despite having won 5 of the 7 matches he's played against Cameron Norrie, his indoor statistics reflect his struggles. Indoors, he wins 70.5% of his matches, while on grass, 89.7%, clay, 84.4%, and outdoor hard courts, 83.1%, his effectiveness is higher. Carlos Alcaraz on the calendar. The number of tournaments we have to play is too high. The issue of the ATP calendar isn't new. For weeks, several players have complained about the large number of tournaments and matches they must play with little rest. As the season nears its end, the year-long fatigue begins to accumulate. One of the most critical voices is that of the world number 1, Carlos Alcaraz. The Spaniard, currently competing in the Paris Masters 1000, once again voiced his opinion about the calendar. I don't have an exact number of matches we should play, I can't give a precise figure, but obviously something needs to be done about the schedule, the Spaniard said before his Paris debut. The number of tournaments we have to play is too high. We don't have enough time to train and rest. Even during the season, it's week after week, and we don't get a chance to have a week to properly prepare for tournaments or for what's coming, Alcaraz declared. Alcaraz and Sinner to meet in South Korea before the Australian Open. According to the South Korean outlet The Chosen Daily, the Spaniard and the Italian will play the Hyundai Card Super Match exhibition on January 10.